What I want to put to you today is that your allegations about General Mkhwanazi and Prince Makadi being CIA agents strike me as a misdirection tactic. What's your response to that?
Investigation is investigation. You may have that belief now, but ultimately the outcome of investigation will show whether we are correct or not, will show the result. But it's not intended to misdirect.
Well, let me give you a couple of facts. Yeah. You mentioned yesterday a coal mine in Richards Bay. There is no coal mine in Richards Bay.
It's correct.
But you mentioned a coal mine.
Yeah, I can rephrase and put it in proper context. The coal mine is in Madlanga. I wanted to say the end route, the route that is utilized is the Richards Bay one. Thank you so much.
Then let me tell you that the Richards Bay coal terminal is owned by a consortium of more than 10 different mining companies, each of whom have their own export quota. Did you know that?
I'm not aware of that.
And each of these, I think it's either 13 or 15 mining companies, control how that export quota is used. So they can decide who they want to export coal to from Richards Bay. Do you know that?
I was not aware of that.
You see, what I want to put to you is the notion that you advance in your statement that, and you refer to the off-take portion of this coal route. You say this the off-take portion of this coal route is owned by Israeli interests. That's what triggered this investigation, apparently. That notion is completely fanciful. Because short of buying up all the export capacity of between 13 and 15 different mining companies, it's not possible to own the off-take portion of the Richards Bay coal terminal. You know that?
I cannot give a specific answer, Commissioners. Remember, if you are given information, and that information also involves, like I said, the Chinese were interested there, and also involves not Mrs. Zulu, the prince, saying he's being harassed because of that, saying Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi is actually opposing him at all costs because of that. You end up believing that the state, that's why I've given that statement.
Let me give you another fact. You say in your statement that there was a fear that the coal terminal and the export route was going to be shut down. That's in your statement. That's apparently why the so-called Western interests got interested in.
Yeah, according to information, according to the source, that's what I heard. That's what.
What I want to put to you is that there's never been any suggestion from government that the Richards Bay coal terminal is going to be shut down, and that, on the contrary, in the period you speak of, government's been investing hundreds of millions of rands in improving the rail link to Richards Bay.
Yeah, Commissioners, the information was, there was a feeling from the West End that since South Africa took Israel to court, to the International Criminal Court, that may be halted. That's how I have phrased it.
Let me take it further. Do you know that since 2023, when you say this investigation started, the output of the Richards Bay coal terminal has been increasing steadily?
That may be, yeah, it's possible. I'm not conversant with that. I was sticking to my investigation, Commissioners.
You see, what I want to put to you is that if you or your handler were genuinely investigating a CIA plot through General Mkhwanazi to protect Israeli interests in the whole of the export, the offtake from the Richards Bay coal terminal, you'd have been able to discover the facts that I've just given you in 5 minutes on the internet. So you really wouldn't have come up with a story which is self-evidently absurd.
Commissioners, if whatever senior counsel has been saying comes from the internet, then, investigation doesn't work like that. And I'm disappointed, senior counsel, that with those powerful facts that may be written by someone who has interest, then they are presented before the commission, and I do not know. In fact, whatever that you've been saying, it means, remember what I said in my world, I can put up a website, take my people in 5 days and give you the opposite of what's written.
I want to put to you that if you actually investigated the notion that one, the Richards Bay coal terminal was under threat of being shut down, that two, it was controlled by Israeli interests, it would take you less than 5 minutes to realize it was absurd. And I want to put to you that the fact that you didn't take those 5 minutes, you or your handler, to do it, suggests that you weren't actually investigating these allegations.
Commissioners, investigation of that kind, we don't go to the internet. You have 5, 6 people here with a bot, those that have knowledge showing you what they think, showing you what is happening on the ground, showing you there is kind of a system which is used when you are dealing with it. And I'm saying in my statement, if you check my statement correctly, I'm basing, just like the chairperson said yesterday, he was using a different language about hearsay. A hearsay is tested through investigation until you get the result. It's not that the result will always say, yes, General Mkonazi is a CIA. No, you investigate, you get the outcome, then you rely on what you have. But since we have not got anything, it means what you say will stand, but will not stop us from investigating.
So you want to put in issue that the Richards Bay coal terminal is controlled by between more than 10 different mining companies. You're not satisfied that that's the truth?
The interest, that's the truth, according to what you say. I'm not sure, I don't know. But when you talk of Western interest, commissioners, there is a term called this white monopoly capital. It's a different thing. It's not what you see, having 10 companies, having 5, 6, they will say black people, CEOs. That's not the case. When you talk of a particular business interest in the size of that business, it's not what you see on the internet. It's not what you see.
Well, what I do want to put to you is that the suggestion that General Mkonazi and Prince Makadi are CIA operatives working to protect Israeli interests in Richard Bay coal.
Is it not King Mrs. Zulu?
King Mrs. Zulu, I beg your pardon. Is one false, and is two a misdirection tactic. It's designed to take attention away from the allegations that General Mkonazi is making.
No, that's not the intention. It's not the intention. The allegations General Mkonazi is making, I'll give an example. Today, the whole country knows that Mr. Senzo Mchunu is corrupt, is aligned to the drug cartels. Till today, they have not brought one evidence that links Minister Mchunu to those things. Even they will say the same applies. Remember I told you about this Boko Haram and Ket Madlanga. The Ket Madlanga is portrayed one of the big fives now. Let me tell you, Commissioners, South African Police Service, it is expected that is the only institution, whether ESCOM, Telcom, when you have an employee, you will take, or a company to appoint, you will take the profile or the details of that company to SARS, to South African Police Service for vetting. How did Ket Madlanga go through the vetting process of South African Police Service to end up being appointed for 300 million and all these things? 2 months, 3 months later, the same South African Police Service says Ket Madlanga is the big five. That's misdirection. They say Ket Madlanga, Minister Mchunu was safeguarding the interest of Ket Madlanga and all these things going to fund him. It is Senzo Mchunu, through the review, who cancelled Ket Madlanga's contract. Isn't that misdirection, Commissioners? I cannot cancel your contract now, tomorrow. 300 million. And you say you are funding me.
Before you continue, Mr. Shaskalson, something very important. I've always been correcting people on the pronunciation of people's names. I mispronounced the king's name. It's Misuzulu. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I also want to put to you that your allegations of Mr. Matlala paying bribes to General Masemola and General Mkhwanazi are also another misdirection tactic. And let me say why. We've been through Mr. Matlala's cell phone, and he is hardly discreet about his improper relationships with senior SAPS members in his WhatsApp communications. Can I give you an example?
Please.
Do you want to go to page 107 of the annexure? We'll come back to this exchange a little bit later, but I'm sure you remember it. It's relating to the witness who said he was being pressurized to change his story to falsely implicate General Khan. You remember that?
That's correct.
So Mr. Matlala says to you, in relation to this witness, arrange with Khan to give him cash if the information he has is worth it. So Mr. Matlala is indicating to you that General Khan, in his view, would be willing to pay a witness to give evidence that suits General Khan.
Yes, I see the message.
You accept that what he's saying to you is that General Khan will pay a witness to give evidence that suits him.
This is what Kat said, commissioners, not what General Khan said or myself.
I'm saying that Kat is not discreet about his communications in relation to senior police officers.
We can say that.
We've seen plenty of evidence in the chats of Mr. Matlala paying SAPS members to assist him.
That's correct.
We've seen plenty of evidence of Mr. Matlala communicating directly with SAPS generals and brigadiers in improper circumstances.
That's correct.
Now, if Mr. Matlala was paying massive bribes to General Masemola or General Mkhwanazi, I'd expect to see some sign of this relationship with these generals in his chats. I see signs of relationships with a whole lot of other generals in his chats.
Okay, commissioners, there is something that is missing here that need to be understood. There is a machine called Cellbrite. This Cellbrite machine is owned by different and private companies. It is the only machine like this, these messages and all these things that are presented before the commission. This machine is the only machine that is able to selectively download. That is why I believe that at the later stage, perhaps this process, one will say a Section 205 should have been obtained. I believe there is no way, even if I could not come to the commission and say, this was my infiltration, this was whatever, there was no way anyone could prove messages of my cell phone or Senzo Mqunu before he could have either the Section 205 or the two phones. And Advocate Johnson testified that the phone of Kat Matlala was tampered with and some of the messages were deleted. Now,
So
to base, commissioners, to base the process on the cell phone that was tampered with, on the cell phone, that it means these messages will only suit the narrative of those who had the cell phone first, before any other party could get the cell phone. So to say there's a message and then Cat is this particular person who will say this, who will say that. Commissioners, I was with Cat. And I said I came here to help the commission. I may not be able to answer all questions, but I'm not lying. I will